Welcome to Life Lessons from the Srimad Bhagavatam. I thought before I begin, I can chant the prayers that are narrated in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, chapter 2, verse 17. Shrinvatam svakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantasto shabhadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. Shri Krishna, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text 18 from the second chapter of the first canto. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Text 19. Tarad rajas tamo bhava kama lobadayaschaye cheta etar anavidham stitam sattve prasidyati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and becomes completely happy. One more, verse 20. Evam prasana manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, a man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from material association. One more. Vidyate hridaya grantis jidyante sarva samshaya kshiyante chasya karmani drista evatmanishvare. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated and one sees the self as master. I'd love to keep going, but I see that some of our friends have arrived online and I would love to greet you. So let me greet Monica Sharma joining us from Sydney, Australia. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Monica says Hare Krishna. Sundar Nanda Gopal is with us from Sydney, Australia as well. And Sundar Nanda says Hare Krishna, pranams. My pranams to you, Sundar Nanda Prabhuji. Hopefully I'll be seeing you soon in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Nikunja is with us from Auckland, New Zealand. Nikunja says, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Welcome, Nikunja. Thank you for joining. And then we have Rasa Stali, somehow joining us from South Africa, where it's quite late. Thank you for being here, Rasa Stali. Rasa Stali says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories unto Srila Prabhupada. All glories unto all the assembled devotees. Thank you for being here, Rasa Stali. Thank you all for being here for life lessons from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we are discussing the 48th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, verses 1 through to 36. For those of you who are listening to a recording, life lessons from the Srimad Bhagavatam takes place every Monday and Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the US. That's plus 1 day in Australia, New Zealand, and other places. Our topic today is Krishna keeps his promises to his devotees. And so this is a continuation of what we have been discussing earlier. Travel can be very austere. There can be delays and cancellations, and you don't know exactly where you should eat or sleep the next day. And so there are challenges. Sometimes it's opulent, sometimes it's difficult. When I first started traveling with Indradyumna Maharaj, there were periods where I thought of giving up and returning to Australia. I was 15, and it was just a little challenging. It was ecstatic a lot of the time and difficult some of the time. And so when I think of returning to Australia, at one point I wondered if I was just running away. So I was 15, and I realized I'd never lived in any place longer than 4 years at a time. And so that was 0 to 4. I'd lived in Wellington, New Zealand. And then 5 to 9, I'd lived in New Varshana in Auckland, and then New Govardhan, Australia. And then 9 to 15, I'd lived in Vrindavan, Gurukul there, Mayapur Gurukul, then Auckland, New Zealand, New Varshana Gurukul, and then New Govardhan as well. And so you can see I'd lived a lot of places by the age of 15. And so I wondered if I was just running away from life, not realizing that you can't actually run away from yourself. And so I made a commitment to myself that I would serve Indradyumna Maharaj for at least 5 years, longer than the 4 that had been my record in living in one place or serving in one place up until then. And then I decided that once I had proven to myself that I wasn't just running away from something, then I could reevaluate where I would stay and how I would serve. And so that was a commitment that I made and a commitment that I kept. And I traveled with Indradyumna Maharaj for 18 years, serving him. And so why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this to emphasize the power of commitments in building trust in ourselves, commitment to keeping our word, commitment to fulfilling a promise that we make. And when we do so, it becomes a private victory of truthfulness and trust towards ourselves, that then becomes a public victory where others also learn that they can trust us and count on us as well, that our word actually means something. So today we'll discuss how Krishna keeps his word and commitments. In chapter 41 of this 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna came to Mathura, Akrura invited Krishna to his home. If you remember, when they arrived in Mathura, Akrura said, "Please come to my home, visit my home, stay in my home." And Krishna said he would visit after killing Kamsa. Similarly, when Krishna entered into Mathura city with Balaram and the cowherd boys, they met Tribhakra. Tribhakra is how the Bhagavatam refers to Kubja. Kubja is how she's referred to in other cantos. Kubja means hunchback. And so Tribhakra, or Kubja, she had also invited Krishna to her home. And at that time, Krishna said, "Wait, I'll come after I have killed Kamsa." And so in this chapter, from chapter 41 now to this chapter, we'll have Krishna actually keeping those promises, keeping those commitments. So once again, we're discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 48, verses 1 through to 36. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Our 3 topics will be Krishna's promise to Kubja, verses 1 through to 11, Krishna's promise to Akrura, verses 12 to 27, and then Krishna's request of Akrura, verses 28 to 36, and that will complete this chapter. So we begin with Krishna's promise to Kubja. Sukadeva Goswami tells us how after Uddhava returned from Vrindavan and his describing to Krishna what he had seen in his association with the Brajbasis, what he had learned about Prema Bhakti, Krishna was very pleased. And after some time, he remembered his promises to Trivakra or Kubja and to Akrura. And he decided to fulfill those. So first he went to the home of Trivakra. Trivakra means bent in three places. Kubja means hunchback. So these are names that are given for the same personality. Bhagavatam says Trivakra. Other Puranas, they refer to Kubja. And so Krishna, he went to the home of Trivakra. It was beautifully decorated to kindle or arouse desire. In fact, since meeting Krishna, Trivakra had been consumed by lust and desire for Krishna. If you remember that encounter in chapter 41, when Krishna he straightened Trivakra out, then she appeared very beautiful. She looked upon Krishna and she was in love with him already. That's why she was giving him the sandalwood paste and other ointments and fragrances. But now that she too was beautiful, she was emboldened, and she pulled at his cloth and she invited him to her home. And this made Krishna smile at the cowherd boys who were laughing and snickering. So he was a little bit embarrassed, and he told her, "Let me first kill Kamsa, and then I'll come and visit you." Since then, she has been consumed by desire for Krishna. She's been unable to think of anything or anyone else. And so her home is decorated to receive Krishna. She's counting on him fulfilling his promise. It's adorned with banners and canopies and strands of pearls, very opulent, elegant furnishings. There is fragrant incense burning. There are oil lamps, flower garlands. There's aromatic sandalwood paste. That was her profession. She provided these fragrances, sandalwood paste and different ointments and cosmetics to the king. And so she's been well rewarded. She has an opulent residence, and all of this is on display to receive Krishna. Seeing Krishna arrive, Trivakra, she hurriedly rose from her seat. Gracefully, she welcomed Krishna, offering him a fine sitting place and other items of worship. Uddhava, who was with Krishna, was also offered an honored seat. But Uddhava, out of respect, he just touched the seat and sat on the floor. He wasn't comfortable sitting on the same level as Krishna or accepting this hospitality in that way. He just sat on the floor. And then Krishna, Sukadeva Goswami says, imitating human customs, he entered Trivakra's inner chamber and reclined on a luxurious bed. Meanwhile, Trivakra, she prepared herself, bathing, anointing her body, donning fine garments, jewelry, garlands, and perfume. And then she approached Krishna with shy smiles and coquettish glances. And Krishna, he called her towards him. She had some trepidation. She was, you can imagine, her heart is pounding. She's full of anticipation, but there's some trepidation as well. And Krishna gently pulls her by her bangled hands onto the bed. And he enjoyed her company. This girl, what was her virtue? What had she done right? She had offered sandalwood paste to Krishna. And by that service, she was now receiving a reward that is inconceivable. The Supreme Personality of Godhead inviting her to lie on the same bed with him. Something that cannot be dreamed of by mystics and yogis, what to speak of karmakandis who have accrued pious merits. And what happened is most wonderful. By inhaling the fragrance of Krishna's lotus feet, Trivakra, she became free of, she's full of desire, but she becomes free of mundane lust. Her attachment for Krishna is deepened, but she's free of the desire to enjoy for herself. This is an important distinction between Kubja and the gopis. They love Krishna for Krishna, and they want him to enjoy. They present themselves to Krishna that he will enjoy. Kubja, she has it the other way around. She wants to enjoy Krishna. She wants him for herself. And so that's the difference between love and lust. The gopis, they love Krishna. Kubja, she lusts Krishna. Nonetheless, she's purified. She embraces Krishna with her arms, and in doing so, she's relieved of her distress, and she's purified of lust. She asks Krishna to stay longer, saying that she can't bear his losing his company. And Krishna stays with her for a short while, and then he leaves, paying his respects. He returns to his abode with Uddhava. So we can pause here for some learnings, for some life lessons. One is the principle of keeping promises, keeping commitments. Krishna's visiting Kubja's home after killing Kamsa underscores the importance of honoring our commitments and promises. When Krishna made that promise earlier, he hasn't forgotten, neither has Kubja. She's counting on it, but Krishna has also remembered this, and he's fulfilled that commitment. And so this is a reminder to us that we must honor our promises, even those that we feel uncomfortable fulfilling. It's a sign of trustworthiness and integrity as well. Another important lesson is this of Krishna reciprocating with how he is approached. Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but nonetheless he's showing great compassion and understanding of Trivakra's emotion and desire. Some Puranas, they say that in her previous birth she was in fact Surpanaka. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says that she's Bhushakti. So she's one of the Lord's eternal consorts. Shri, Bhu, and Nila. Bhushakti is also Earth Goddess, who's rescued by Varahadev. They also have a child, Narakasura is their child. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells us that she's his eternal consort. Some other Puranas say that she was Surpanaka. But the principle here is that Krishna, he's reciprocating with his devotees' desire. Even if Ram was not able to fulfill the desire of Surpanaka, Krishna, he is most merciful. He fulfills her wish to be with him intimately, recognizing her longing and distress. And so Bhagavatam is full of stories of devotees asking Krishna for something and his fulfilling their desire. Sutapa and Prishni, they prayed to Vishnu that he would appear as their son, which he fulfilled over 3 incarnations as Yagya, then as Vamana, and then finally as Krishna. Vamana was born to Kashyapa and Aditi. Krishna is born to Vasudeva and Devaki. Yagya is born to Sutapa and Prishni. Uttara asked Krishna to protect her child in her womb after Ashvatthama had fired the Brahmastra. And so Krishna entered her womb with his club to protect Parikshit, who wondered, who is this? Who is this effulgent personality wielding the club? And so he became the curious or the inquirer, Parikshita, the one who asks questions. Gajendra asked Krishna's protection from a crocodile, and Krishna appeared on the back of Garuda and killed the aggressor. Sudama Brahmana didn't ask Krishna for anything, but his wife had sent him to beg some charity. And so despite not verbalizing the request, Krishna awarded him opulences greater than that of Indra. The Brajbasis, they repeatedly appealed to Krishna for protection from different threats like Indra's torrents of rain. So he responded by lifting Govardhan Hill as an umbrella to give them shelter. The gopis prayed to Krishna to be their husband. And so Krishna, he danced with them in the Rasa Lila, expanding with each and every gopi and interacting with them in the most personal and intimate way, despite his being with millions of gopis. Another important lesson is this: whatever we desire from Krishna, if we approach him, we'll be purified. Even if initially we are approaching with some material desire, it's foolish. It's like the person carrying wood who says, "Hey Krishna," and the firewood, when they drop the firewood on the ground, and Krishna appears and he says, "What can I do for you?" And they say, "Please place that wood back on my head." So return that burden back on my head. Could have asked Krishna for anything. So when we ask Krishna for material things, it's foolish, but nonetheless, we can. Trivakra, she initially invited Krishna for sensual reasons, but Krishna used this opportunity to uplift her spiritually. She, in fact, becomes a gopi. This illustrates that our initial motives for seeking Krishna may not always be pure, but with the right guidance and association and Krishna's mercy, then our intentions are purified. Dhruva Maharaj, he approached Krishna for a kingdom greater than his father's. So he's motivated by politics and ego, but he becomes purified on seeing Krishna and through meeting Narada Muni and undergoing a sadhana, a Vaishnava sadhana of chanting a sacred mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and finally having Krishna's darshan, he's purified. And so Krishna teaches us that we can approach him for anything. He's there to reciprocate however we will approach him. And then Bhagavatam shows us that it just might be that in the process we will be purified as well. Krishna, he doesn't, not like the demigods who give the reward regardless, or give the request regardless of the consequences. Krishna is different. He hears the request, but he also thinks about how to deliver it or fulfill it in a way that is for the best of the person making the request as well. Therefore, Shastra tells us, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udharini tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purushaparam. Whether you have some desire, whether you desire liberation, or whether you have no desire, approach Krishna and you can be awakened to the path of bhakti. Okay, let's go to our second topic then. That's Krishna's promise to Akrura. So, as we discussed earlier, Krishna had also made a promise to Akrura when Akrura brought Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan in the chariot. Before entering the city, Akrura said, "Please come to my home." And Krishna said, "No, we'll come to your home. Thank you for the invitation, but we'll come after. We will first kill Kamsa, then we'll come to your home." And so Akrura wasn't very happy. So he left Krishna and Balaram outside the city in a cowherd camp where Nanda and the other cowherds were resting. He went into the city, he met Kamsa, told him that he had brought Krishna and Balaram from Mathura. And so now Krishna is going to keep that commitment as well. Krishna had said, "I will come to you after killing Kamsa." And so when he saw Krishna approaching with Balaram and Uddhava, Akrura was overjoyed. He rose from his seat. He embraced each of them and greeted them and humbly bowed down to Krishna and Balaram, receiving them with warm words. He engaged in ritual worship as is befitting an esteemed guest, what to speak of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He bathed the feet of Krishna and Balaram and then poured that sacred consecrated water on his own head. So just a little note here, that whenever we read about foot bathing in the Bhagavatam, it's always with water. In ISKCON, we have a culture of using milk and yogurt and ghee, which is used for bathing deities. But we don't actually see in the Bhagavatam that anyone is bathing feet, even exalted personalities' feet, like Krishna. What to speak of others, we don't see that foot bathing is ever done with milk and yogurt and ghee. It's always done with water. So just a little note. Of course, there are pictures of Prabhupada's feet being bathed with milk and yogurt and so forth. And so it seems Prabhupada did accept that. But it's also maybe he's accepting it out of his kindness. He also accepted when his disciples made him a cowboy, like a shirt with a collar and sleeves and buttons all the way down. I think a devotee in Australia made that for him. And he wore it on the Rath Yatra. He wore it once, but he did accept the offering. He didn't wear it again. So Prabhupada is very merciful. He's accepting the offerings of his disciples. But yeah, we might think about this foot bathing using milk and ghee when it's not actually there in the Bhagavatam. Akrura offered gifts. He offered fine garments, fragrant sandalwood paste. He offered flower garlands and nice jewelry. And after worshipping Krishna and Balaram in this way, he lowered his head to the ground and he massaged Krishna's feet. And as he did so, he offered prayers. So remember, Akrura, he is the exemplar of Vandanam, the bhakti process of prayer. From the Navanga bhakti, from the 9 processes of bhakti, Akrura is the exemplar of prayer. So in earlier classes, we analyzed Akrura's prayers at Akrura Ghat before leaving Mathura, but here's another opportunity to analyze Akrura's prayer. In our earlier analysis, we identified 5 components to his prayer and other prayers throughout the Bhagavatam. In this prayer, I identified 4. So 4 of those 5. So he says, "It is our great fortune that you, lords, who have vanquished evil Kamsa and his followers, and have liberated our lineage from ceaseless agony, and now you have brought about its prosperity." So one of the elements that we identified in Akrura's earlier prayers was to glorify the Lord as the creator. Excuse me. He says, "You are both the primordial supreme, the universe's cause and core. Nothing in creation, subtle or manifest, exists apart from you. O Supreme Truth, with your personal energies you create and inhabit this universe. Thus, hearing from authorities or by direct experience, one is able to perceive you in diverse forms. You create, sustain, and dissolve this universe through your personal energies, the modes of passion, ignorance, and goodness. Yet you remain untouched by these modes or the actions they generate. As the primordial source of all knowledge, illusion can never ensnare you." So we have 2 topics now, creator and that the Lord is present everywhere was another. The third topic that we identified from 4 here is how he appears as incarnations. "You originally revealed the timeless Vedic path for the universe's welfare. Whenever it's obstructed by atheists, you manifest incarnations, all in the transcendental mode of goodness. You are the very supreme person, my Lord, now residing in Vasudev's home. With his plenary form, you come to alleviate the earth's burden, slain armies led by kings who oppose the demigods, and to glorify our dynasty. Today, my home finds supreme fortune in your presence, O Supreme Truth. You encompass ancestors, beings, humans, gods, and the water washing your feet purifies the 3 worlds." So there's a reference to the Panchamahayagya. Every day, the Grihasta is supposed to perform 5 yagas, 1 to the ancestors, 1 to human beings, 1 to the rishis, 1 to human society and one to the Devas. And here Akrura says, you encompass all of them. If we do worship to you, we fulfill all the requirements of the 5 great yagyas. You transcended one of the universe's spiritual guide, who but for you, the affectionate, grateful, and truthful benefactor of your devotees, deserves our refuge. To your sincere worshippers, you grant their every wish, even yourself, without diminishing. That reminds us of Om Purnamada Purnamidam. Although Krishna is expanding himself, he's never diminished. Or Nipachireva Hida Santanamabhupetya. Brahma says, like a candle, lights many other candles, but the light of the original candle is not diminished. So finally, the conclusion to Akrura's prayer is a request. And that was the final of the 5 items that we identified earlier. He says, Janardana, our great fortune allows us to see you, a vision of even yoga masters and chief demigods find challenging. Please swiftly sever the bonds of our illusory attachments to children, spouses, wealth, influential friends, home and body. Such attachments are mere creations of your illusory material energy. So in our early analysis, I identified 5 elements. One was to begin with humility, and then to describe Krishna as the creator, as present everywhere. So humility is number 1. 2, Krishna the creator. 2, Krishna is present everywhere in his energies. 3, he comes in various incarnations. And 5, to finally make a request. That's how prayer is done by Akrura. And we also saw that it applies to Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, and Shiva's prayers, and many other great Indra's prayers, Brahma's prayers found in the Bhagavatam. It has these 5 elements. Here in this, I saw 4, that the humility element, he didn't start with humility. Often they'll start by saying, I'm not qualified to glorify you. My words will never adequately describe or encompass your glory. But here, he doesn't do that, but I can see that he does something else. He establishes a relationship with the Lord. So that humility could also be seen as establishing the relationship. So rather than starting by saying, I'm not qualified, he says, it is our great fortune that you, lords, vanquished evil Kamsa and his followers, liberating our lineage from ceaseless agony and ensuring its prosperity. He's establishing the relationship there with the Lord. Maybe not with humility, but with gratitude, to say, thank you. You have killed Kamsa. You have killed Kamsa's associates and followers, and you have established the security of the Yadu dynasty. We are grateful to you for that. And so in that sense, we'll see these 5 elements present also in Akrura's prayer here. So that's an important lesson to us, how to pray. We don't just go ahead and ask for something. That might be how we might think of prayer, particularly in the Western tradition. But here from the Bhagavatam, we learn that our prayer should start with glorification. Krishna, you are. And then what do they say? You are the supreme source. You are present everywhere in your creation. You come to save the world in your different incarnations. Please help me. Please save me. Please enable me to remember you. Something of that nature. Of course, it doesn't have to follow this 5-part framework, but we've seen it in many prayers in the Bhagavatam. If we analyze the gopis, for example, they pray not necessarily by making a request. It's, but they glorify Krishna's flute playing and his smiles and his sidelong glances, and how Vrindavan forest is captivated by his beauty and his activities and behavior. So that's the gopis. They just go directly to glorifying Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Otherwise, this more formal method of praying is seen throughout the Bhagavatam. What else do we see here? Krishna's honoring his commitment to Akrura, another lesson for us. One thing we can think about, not only does Krishna keep his promises, as we've seen he's done with Kubja and he's done with Akrura, but if we just reflect a little further, we can see he's so committed to truth and to keeping commitments and promises. He also keeps his the promises of his devotees. One of the examples, Brahma made a promise to Hiranyakashipu that he would not be killed by a man or a beast in the day and the night, inside or outside, whether by any weapon. And so Krishna, he honored Brahma's words when he killed Hiranyakashipu by famously appearing as Narasimha, half man, half lion, neither man nor beast, killing him neither in the day or the night, but at dusk, neither inside or outside, but in the courtyard, and so forth. So Krishna honors Brahma's words, his devotees' words. He also helped Lord Shiva keep his word when Shiva promised to help the demigods by destroying Tripurasura and some demons three city demons. They were three demon brothers who had performed, I think, they had gotten blessings and benedictions from Shiva. And they had gotten the help of Mayadanava to construct three flying cities, one of gold, one of silver, and one of iron. And then with these flying cities that were terrorizing the universe. So the demigods, they asked Shiva for help. They said, only you can save us here. These demons, they became powerful by your blessings. So Shiva, he said he would destroy them, but he wasn't able. He tried, and it just wasn't working out. And so what happened was he would, anyway, so Vishnu, he helped Shiva keep his word by some measure. It's a longer story. It appears in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, I believe. Okay, who else's word did Krishna keep? He kept Shiva's word. He kept Brahma's word. Well, let's think about Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he would say, if you chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regular principles, you will go back to Godhead. You'll receive Krishna's grace. You'll awaken pure love of God, and you'll be able to enter the spiritual world. Some say this is just way too easy. Like that's all you have to do. Follow a formula. You chanted 16 rounds, you followed 4 regular principles through your lifetime, and you're going back to Godhead. What about, it's not that easy, some would say. But then we can have hope. If Krishna is committed to keeping Brahma's word and Shiva's word, and some of you may have typed it in the comments, Bhishma's word, then he will also keep Prabhupada's word. And so that should give us hope. Prabhupada said it, we follow it, we will receive Krishna's grace because he will keep Prabhupada's word. Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Prabhupada, who is dear to Krishna, Krishna Prishta. Krishna keeps the words that he gives to his devotees. He also keeps the word given by his devotee. Let's go to our third topic, Krishna's request to Akrura, verses 28 to 36. Sukadeva Goswami, he tells us how after receiving Akrura's worship and prayers, then Krishna spoke to him with a charming smile, captivating Akrura. Now Krishna has something to ask of Akrura. I've kept my word to you. Now I have something to ask of you as well. He says, you are our spiritual guide. You are our uncle. You are our cherished friend. We depend on you for your shelter and your support and your compassion. You treat us like your sons. People like you, souls like you, are the true objects of service, the highest authorities for those who seek the greatest good in life. And he says, demigods, they often are concerned with their own interests, but saintly devotees like you are not. They further said, Krishna said, no one disputes the existence of holy places and sacred rivers or the deities that are crafted from earth or stone. However, these purify the soul gradually. But saintly people, they purify the heart just by being in their presence. And so they say, you are a friend. Please go to Hastinapura and inquire about the well-being of the Pandavas. This is the first time that the Pandavas appear in this Krishna's story since the beginning of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Now that will appear more and more. So Krishna, he's asking Akrura to again become a diplomat. He was a diplomat for Kamsa. He's regarded, he's highly respected in the royal circles. And so Krishna is asking him to assume the role of a diplomat for him on his behalf. And that is to go to Hastinapura, the Kuru capital, and find out about the well-being of the Pandavas. Krishna says, we heard that after their father's death, after the death of Pandu, the young Pandavas, along with their grieving mother, were brought to the capital of King Dhritarashtra in Hastinapura and now reside there. However, Dhritarashtra is weak-minded and he's fallen under the influence of his wicked sons, and he's not treating his nephews, the sons of his brother, fairly. So please go to Hastinapura and find out whether Dhritarashtra is acting justly or not. And once we know, we can make the necessary arrangements to assist our dear friends. So here we have Krishna's commitment to protect his devotees. He's sending Akrura to investigate the well-being of the Pandavas and their mother, Kunti. He's fulfilling another promise, and that is the promise that his devotees will never perish. And so, Kuntaya pratijanihi name bhaktya pranasyati. Declare it boldly, he tells Arjuna, my devotee will never perish. And so here he's fulfilling that promise, sending Akrura as his diplomat to investigate. Because devotees are by nature righteous, Krishna's concern for the well-being and fair treatment of the Pandavas also highlights principles of justice and fairness. And so there's a lesson for you and I to have confidence in Krishna's promise and protection, but also to learn the importance of being aligned with and standing up for justice and fairness, dharma, essentially. Because Krishna is param dharma. He is the supreme truth. He is supreme compassion. He is supreme wisdom and supreme kindness. He is the supreme truth. And so when we align with dharma, we align with Krishna. There's also this nice point that we had, the selflessness versus selfishness. The Devas were described as self-interested or selfish. Saintly people are described by Krishna as being selfless. They are always concerned for the well-being of others, and they're ready to serve others, and teaching us that true fulfillment and purpose can be found in dedicating ourselves to the welfare of others, to service towards others. We also learned from Krishna something about purification. If you want to be purified quickly, he says, being in a holy place or bathing in a sacred river or serving a deity of a demigod, the purification is more gradual. But by being with a Vaishnava, with a saintly person, just by being in their presence, the purification happens much more quickly because we have their example and we have their words, their vapu and their vani. And their vapu and their vani, they enable us to actually appreciate the holy place, the sacred deity, the sacred river, and so on. Without their teaching, then we're unable to appreciate. And the other thing is that the sacred river, elsewhere it's described, they wash away sins, but hearing from the Vaishnava and developing the affinity of the Vaishnava, the awakening of bhakti in the heart, doesn't just wash away the sins, it washes away or annuls the sinful propensity or the desire to engage in sinful activity. So the transformation happens at a much, much deeper level. Okay, so we can summarize then in the form of a prayer. Beloved Krishna, in the promise you made to Kubja, we find a sacred covenant etched in the sands of time, a covenant that speaks to us of honor. We learn from you, Krishna, the importance of keeping one's word and fulfilling promises. For in the integrity of promises kept, trust and love flourish. As you honored your commitment to Kubja, may we too be steadfast in our vows. For in honoring our word, we honor you, the supreme, absolute truth. As we gaze upon your grace, dear Krishna, as you reciprocate the desires of those who approach you, in your compassion we see a reflection of our own yearnings. Just as you embraced Trivakra's desires and purified her of all material lust, may we too be open to the transformation that comes when we approach you with sincerity. Let us remember that your mercy knows no bounds, and even in our moments of flawed intent, you see the seeds of devotion. In your fulfilling your promise to Akrura, we witness the sanctity of words upheld. As you fulfilled your commitment to visit his home, may we also hold fast to our promises, for in honoring our pledges we reflect the trustworthiness of our souls. Your faithfulness to the words of your devotees, like Brahma's reassurance to Hiranyakashipu, reminds us that your divine protection extends even to the vows we made as followers of your beloved devotee, Srila Prabhupada. In Akrura's prayers, Krishna, we learn the art of surrender. We are guided in the dance of Vandanam, where we glorify your greatness as creator and supreme source, as the omnipotent presence in every corner of creation, and as the merciful Savior who appears in countless forms to protect and uplift. In the gentle cadence of these prayers, we make our humble requests, knowing that in your boundless compassion, you listen and respond. In your request to Akrura, we unearth the wisdom of selfless service, of standing for justice, and of taking decisive action for the welfare of our loved ones. The distinction between demigods pursuing their interests and saintly devotees serving selflessly reminds us that true fulfillment lies in dedicating ourselves to the well-being of others. Krishna, as we tread the path of devotion, may we follow in the footsteps of your devotees, our hearts echoing the lessons we have gleaned from your divine reciprocations with them. Like a whisper on the breeze, our prayers rise to you, O Krishna, merciful guide, protector, and well-wishing friend of your devotees. So thank you all for being here. Let me honor some of you who arrived after I started speaking. And if you haven't already, just say hello in the chat. If you have any questions or reflections, you can also put them into the chat, and we can further explore what we have learned, what we've discussed today. So Rasa Stali, I greeted you already, and I mentioned how it must be very late in South Africa. And so Rasa Stali is commenting on that. Rasa Stali says, it is, Hare Krishna Prabhu, the time here is 10 p.m. So for Johannesburg, the joining time would be 9:50 p.m. or so, not 11. Okay, well, that's good to know. I will adjust my announcement. It's still quite late. Thank you for joining at 10 p.m. I'm grateful for your commitment to engage here. Rasa Stali's been with us at these classes for more than 3 years now. So when we changed time, when I moved to the US, sadly, we weren't able to accommodate South Africa as we had previously. Arti's with us. Arti says, Hare Krishna. Welcome, Arti. Thanks for joining us today. Then we have Gopal Govinda Shyamdas. Gopal Govinda Shyam says, Hare Krishna Shri Prahlad Prabhu, thank you for your wonderful classes. I love your classes as much as I love your kirtan. Thank you, Gopal Govinda Shyamji, for your encouragement. I'm grateful for your expressing that appreciation. What I can say is that Indradunu Maharaj engaged me in 6 hours of kirtan every day for many, many, many years on end. And so by his mercy, we developed some we had many opportunities there to serve the name and to share the name with others. And then he also taught me to speak as well. He would engage me in speaking when crowds would gather around. Generally, he would speak, but then sometimes he would say, okay, Sri Prahlad, you say something. So I would speak. And then one year, after he had to come to the US, I think it was during the festival tour in Poland, and it had been widely advertised. And then there was, I think maybe his mother had passed away. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he had to come to the US. And he was supposed to be the speaker for the class. And so he gave me a piece of paper where he wrote down his points for his class. And then he gave me some pointers how to deliver the class on his behalf. So that gratitude that you're expressing, Gopal Govinda Shyamji, I'm expressing appreciation to you for your encouragement, but also appreciation to Arjuna Maharaj for training me and engaging me in service. Alicia is with us from, Alicia is with us from Auckland, New Zealand. Alicia says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, hope you're well. I'm watching from work. Thank you, Alicia. Hopefully that's okay with your boss, or if not, hopefully you won't get caught. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he tells Rupa and Sanatana, he says, internally, you cultivate your love and devotion for Krishna, and externally, you can pretend to be a worldly person so as not to arise any doubt in the minds of at that time it was their parents, or, actually he spoke this to Raghunath Das Goswami. Yeah. To Rupa and Sanatan, he gave a similar instruction. Yeah. So there you are. If you can make it work, then perfect. Here's another comment from Alicia. It says, nectar mate. And that's an inside joke because we have a very dear friend in Auckland, New Zealand. He's the temple president and the leader for devotees there. And he has these catchphrases, and Alicia has learned them all. One of them is nectar mate. She has others that you'll see in her comments from time to time. Sevadevi, Sevapuri says, Hare Krishna, Sri Prahlad. Lots of emojis there. Gratitude and appreciation. Peacocks, remember in Vrindavan. Thank you, Sevadevi. Sevapuri, they post all the prayers, and Sevadevi illustrates them. Sevapuri posts them. So thank you so much for that service. In Sydney, Australia, the Savers. Shama Manjari in South Africa saying, Hare Krishna Sri Prahlad Prabhuji and all devotees. That was your first comment. Somehow it's oh no, Shama Manjari. Okay. Shama Manjari has managed to join us from South Africa as well. Amazing. So thank you very much. You say you're happy to be here, and we are very happy to have you here. Maybe daylight savings changed, and so it's made it a little more possible, although I know it's still very late. Thank you so much for joining. We're grateful for your presence. We've been missing you. So thank you so much for joining. Joni joining us from either Sydney or Mawalamba. Joan lives in both places. So in any given moment, I'm not sure where Joan is tuning in from. With Ananda Kirtan often. So greetings to Joan. Thank you for being here. And then Shama Manjari concludes by expressing appreciation for the prayer. Thank you, Shama Manjari. The prayer, summarizing the lessons we learned in the talk and drawing out those implications. Let's see, we have a comment here from Nikunja. Nikunja says, thank you for the inspiring class. Srimad Bhagavatam is ever fresh. I recently listened to Srila Prabhupada's class, just quoting Srimad Bhagavatam class in Melbourne, 1974. Question was about Krishna, and the reply is Srimad Bhagavatam, 18,000 verses. So I'm going to unshare so that I can read it in full. So Prabhupada says, I'm just going to read what's in the quotes. Srimad Bhagavatam class in 1974, question about Krishna, and the reply is Srimad Bhagavatam, 18,000 verses, and each and every verse is so important that if a serious student studies each and every verse, each verse will take at least 1 month to understand. And there are 18,000 verses, so for serious study of Srimad Bhagavatam, it will take 18,000 months. So 18,000 months meaning how many years? 1,500 years. Laughter. It is such an important book, Srimad Bhagavatam. Each verse is a new verse, not repetition of the same subject, and it is deeply thoughtful. What a wonderful quote, appreciating Prabhupada's words, appreciating Srimad Bhagavatam. So yeah, Prabhupada encouraged Bhagavatam class in all of his temples every day, verse by verse reading. What we're doing in these classes is we often go chapter by chapter, or sometimes even a few chapters at a time. And so far, we 2 classes a week. It's taken us some 3 years. So we're into the 10th canto. But yes, Bhagavatam is so vast, so extensive. It's amazing. It's a book that we study throughout our lives. It is not different from Krishna. After Krishna has left this world for his own abode, then Srimad Bhagavatam tells us that this Bhagavatam appeared. Sutta Goswami says this Bhagavatam has appeared after the departure of Krishna to his own abode. So it is not different from Krishna. The question was, how can people of Kali be delivered now that Krishna has left this world? And the answer given by Sutta Goswami was by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is not different from Krishna. Okay, let's conclude there. Thank you all very much, as always, for your association. I am grateful. I wish you well. I wish you health and happiness. I wish you a peaceful heart and mind. I wish you a deepening of loving relationships with devotees. I wish you a deepening of taste for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, for chanting the holy name attentively. I wish you a deepening of taste for serving the sacred deity, for serving the Dham, the place where Krishna resides, whether in Vrindavan and Mayapur, or where your local temple is, where you serve the deity. And I wish you a deepening of taste for serving Vaishnavas. Finally, I pray that your heart is softened through this process of devotional service, and filled with compassion that moves you to share these treasures of bhakti with others as well. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Val.